Now, I would want to know your views on a very tabooed, aspect of narcissistic abuse, and that is emotional incest. I mean, emotional incest, according to me, is, by far one of the most covert and psychologically, disorienting forms of abuse. I mean, it's not something which is, I mean, it's really complex. I mean, it breaks you at different level, and it chains you. I mean, those invisible chains, that you are chained to. Only a few are able to free themselves. Only a few are able to break those chains. I mean, what are your thoughts, Dr. Z, on emotional incest that exists in narcissistic families?
So, I mean, it's something that I'll tell you, like with my mother and my son, not my son, my brother, rather, her son. He's the golden child. He's like the extension of my parents. So there is that emotional incest of, even though he's married now, she still needs to be the central figure in his life. And it's interesting to see how that's played out in their relationship. But, my brother, interestingly enough, puts boundaries up where he says, no, I'm going to respect my wife, and I'm going to do, what is in the best interest of our relationship. So my mom has been forced to take a backseat, which I've seen that kind of devolve in her personality. In terms of, father and daughter, emotional incest, I can't personally elaborate on that, just because I've never felt close to my father, just because of the abuse that's happened, from a psychological level. And I definitely don't have the relationship with my dad that my brother has with my mom. So I can only comment on what I've seen with that.
I mean, with what you said, Dr. Z, I'm really curious to know. I mean, I have seen, if the child begins to, use boundary or says no or refuses, definitely it causes the narcissistic parent narcissistic injury. It hurts them. I mean, I didn't bring you in this world to say no to me and prioritize something else that makes you happy rather than prioritizing my happiness. I mean, does he still have that golden child label, or does he get scapegoated as well? I would want to know that.
He still has the golden child label. He can do no wrong, no matter what. Wow. He could literally turn his back on my parents, which he has done on several occasions, and yet they give him kind of like the excuse, the green light, like, well, he's dealing with so much stress. He's got this going on. Whereas
so much on his plate.
Right. And there's that whole Indian sun complex too that goes along with this. But it's really interesting, because I felt angry on their behalf with some of the things that have happened, since he's been married. But for some reason, they make lots of excuses for him.
And even though, at the core, they feel betrayed that he's prioritizing himself. Wow, this is really unique. I mean, they still put an effort, to keep up that, facade that he's the one, he prioritizes us, and that's it. Perfect family. Great. So, Dr. Z, I mean, according to you, how does emotional enmeshment and covert incest by narcissistic parents, stifle, the growth of the child, in terms of autonomy and individuation? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So that sense of autonomy is lost at an early age, because you're constantly seeking the validation, the approval, the opinions of your parents. And not only that, it extends into your adult life, with your relationships, with your friendships, even with your work relationships. And that sense of autonomy is given away at such a young age. And it's so unfortunate, because you've learned to become dependent on the opinions of everyone else except yourself. And it's such a horrible thing that I finally came to realize that only after these 2 covert narcissistic friendships I went through, that, wow, I gave away a lot of my power, and I was taught to do so at such a young age. And it's unfortunate, and the two go hand in hand.
So true. So, Dr. Z, at what age, or when was it then you felt the need to individuate, or were you successfully able to individuate? What was it like?
I was forced to do it because of medical school. So,
Oh.
I ended up getting to medical school in New York. And so, because of
Mm-hmm.
that, I was forced to move away from home. And honestly, that's where a lot of my growth happened, is when I moved out of state. Thankfully, because I wanted to become a doctor at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Had it not been for that, I would have been under a much thicker layer of enmeshment than I was, and was until this recent, like, past year, I would say. Um, so that individuating process, I hate to say it, but I sadly am going through it finally more formally in my 40s now,
Mm-hmm.
because I
Oh.
recognize what I've dealt with.
So you think that now is the time where you are actually individuating? I mean, the process is kicking in finally.
Yep.
I
For
personally feel the same thing, even like I'm entering my 40s, and, I have helped others. And, there were, a lot of links that, I had to get rid of. There were a lot of blockages inside of me. And I personally felt like a shapeshifter because of all that, guilt and abuse. And, I was so enmeshed. I wanted to be the rescuer and the savior, and to, do all sorts of things to make them happy. And to please them, I was just, like a loyal dog to them. I mean, no matter what they did with me, I had to go back for some kind of validation, and I was good in making up a story, to soothe myself. Mama loves me. She hit me because, somebody else had, provoked her and pissed her off. So that's the reason she did vent it on me. So I had stories ready to survive that family. Only now I'm entering my 40s, and now I feel, I'm now able to, disconnect. I'm now able to individuate. No, that is not me. I cannot be that and, move ahead and help other individuals. I was literally like a shapeshifter. I was a therapist. I was a cook. I was a hospice. I was whatnot at home. And now I feel, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be everything. I can just be one person at a time. If I am, married to someone, I'll just play the role of a wife. Thank you. I won't be the mother. Sorry, I won't be the absent mother that you had. I can't do that, because then I'm betraying my own self and I'm not able to live my life fully.
Right.
And one more thing I have noticed, Dr. Z, parentification, in a way, I have felt personally, as well as working with others, that it really, breaks you at a level where you are unable to be a good parent if you are a victim of parentification. You're so saturated, you're so burnt out, you're so exhausted. You are like, I just don't want to get into it. I mean, a lot of people that I work with who are victims of parentification, emotional incest, they tell me that they don't want kids. They're done. They have, worked as a parent for their, siblings and for their parent. Now they are so done that, the idea of becoming a parent is, scary for them. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, have you noticed such a thing?
Yeah. So, I can see that, and I completely understand that. And the decision not to have kids for some people, if that was a conscious choice, it makes sense. I can't attest to that because I never was married. I never had, children outside of cats.
Wow.
But, I was in a way spared. And I think that was God protecting me, because I was being kind of shaped for a different purpose in my life. But, I do know, had I had gotten married, had I had children, I wouldn't have had the reserve to be a good parent, because I would have still been trying to please my own parents, still trying to cater to
Wow.
their
Mm-hmm.
needs. And I probably would have
Mm-hmm.
prioritized my parents over my own children.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing what I
You would
know
have been an
now,
absent parent. Mm-hmm.
yeah, knowing what I know now, though, of course I wouldn't do that. But, I don't have children at this point. But
But
I kind of
Zoe is
actually
there.
feel, yeah, I feel lucky that I didn't I wasn't in a position where I would have had children.
I personally feel the same. I mean, my childhood was literally robbed of me. I mean, I was never allowed to draw, paint, dance, sing. Everything had, some evil backstory. If you're painting, I mean, a lot of, spiritual and religious abuse was also there, because they take help of everything, whatever they can get hold of, to control you and to keep you away from, walking that path, to connect to your own self, to connect to your higher self. So I mean, I was big time into creating art and craft, and was into, a lot of activities as a child. But they were like, no, this is not allowed, this is bad, you're going to burn in hell, don't do this. I mean, just because God couldn't come on earth, they made us. And I mean, I don't know what is, with this fantasy of every narcissistic parent to play God or to be conferred with the title, but just having, I'm sorry for my language, but I mean, but just having sex and having a child and doing the bare minimum, you want to be conferred with the title of being a God, and you want the child to worship you. I mean, how do you see that? I mean, that's a common thing that I get to see in India, and with a lot of survivors that I work with. I mean, parents are at a different level altogether. Their consciousness is at a different level altogether. I mean, it is so weird that the child is, suffering, because of them. I mean, them controlling the life of the children. The child is suffering, and somewhere or the other, I see that these parents, narcissistic parents of any type and variety, they tend to, get pleasure when they see their kids suffering. I mean, I feel that, they're very sadistic on the inside. They will put the balm. I have seen them with my own experience and others as well. They're gonna, hurt you. Then they're gonna put the balm. They're gonna patch you up. They're gonna tell you, no, you're fine. See, I love you so much. I made you stand and walk again. And then again, they're gonna, damage you. Then again, they're gonna torture you, torment you, and dehumanize you. What are your thoughts about that, Dr. Z?
Yeah, it's so true, and it is so sad. I've seen that with both of my parents, where they've gone out of their way to hurt me, knowingly hurt me, see me cry, be upset about it,
God, I'm so sorry.
and kind of justify it. Well, that's the truth, or they'll say that, well, maybe you shouldn't have done this, and then I wouldn't have done that. They would blame me for their negative behavior. And unfortunately, I attracted this in my covert narcissistic friendships as well, by no surprise. And it's so sad, because your parents are supposed to be people you look up to, who love you no matter what. They shouldn't be the ones who are going out of their way to hurt you for some sort of sick pleasure. It gives them supply. Like, for narcissistic parents to hurt their kids like that intentionally, it gives them supply, because their fragile ego seeks that so deeply. And it just reveals so much about how flawed, narcissistic people are, especially narcissistic parents.
I personally feel, Dr. Z, I would, later want to know your views on that. I mean, I don't think hurt people hurt people. I was also hurt. I was also abused, and I'm never going to do that. I will distance myself. I'll exit. I'm never going to do, what I had been put through. Consciously, unconsciously, no, I will never, recreate that or put anyone through that. All those, gaslighting, making someone doubt their own perception and reality, make someone feel obligated and guilty. I mean, what are your thoughts, Dr. Z? I mean, when you are raised by narcissistic parents, I have seen some of the individuals replicate the same thing with their children. And I have seen those lot who say, no, I'm not going to do that. My child is going to be, raised, with gentle parenting. I'm not going to be abusive. I'm not going to manipulate. And, they do get criticized also in society. Oh, what nonsense are you doing with your child? Gentle parenting doesn't work. The bell treatment works. I mean, it's quite common in India and in Asian countries. I mean, the more abusive and vile and toxic the parent is, the outcome is good. The child is good. They respect the parent more. What are your thoughts on that, Dr. Z?
Yeah, no, it's something that shouldn't be happening. And you can make one of two choices. You can make the choice of, okay, I got hurt, and I'll make sure that never happens to someone else again. And then the person who chooses to hurt more to make themselves feel better, honestly, I think they're picking up the same narcissistic personality traits that they picked up from their parents or whoever they learned that behavior from. So I don't believe in like being more aggressive, more strict is the answer. It's showing compassion, showing love, so that way the cycle doesn't keep repeating